Hi guys, this is Adam Atkinson with See You Later Leaner. I'm here with Kori Propst, and we are talking about how to transition into the off season. So this can be very difficult for a lot of clients. When you're getting ready for a show, you're the leanest you've ever been, and things start changing. And we had kind of talked about how to expect that change earlier and how that's really important to have a game plan ahead of time. But give us some of your tips, Kori, on transitioning into off season.
Yeah, well, to your point, it can feel really, really challenging, and a lot of clients don't think about it ahead of time. Two things that I liked to ask myself before the off season arrived was, what are my intentions going to be? What do I want to focus on? And to really get grounded in, what are my values? Because ideally, your values didn't change between prep and no prep. You have a strong foundation as a human being. Like, health for a lot of us is important. Well, okay, what does that look like? What does health mean? What does it mean in terms of the way we fuel our bodies? And so that's a question. And then what's my purpose going to be in the off season? Is it going to be gain as much muscle as I possibly can? What would be an appropriate amount of body fat to increase to, which will dictate how, food levels and things like that. So really working with your coach to come up with some of these different, your purpose, your intentions, food levels, body fat levels, and then goals for your off season. Outside of just it being, kind of black and white, on season or off season, humans operate really well when we have aims, when we have intentions, when we have things that we're pursuing. So to not go in with even just an idea of what we might want to do in the off season, I think it's not super smart. It's not intelligent just to be like, okay, let's just see what happens. A lot of us, because we value certainty too, I mentioned this in a previous podcast, we want to just have some baseline idea of what we might pursue in the off season. I think we need to go in expecting changes in our bodies. And just like those who don't compete, we experience weight fluctuations. And so as a competitor, we will also, it's normal. And to make any gains, it's important to allow that metabolic rate to recover. When we're as lean as we are, a lot is compromised. So there's that. The thing that I think I hear about most are the wicked food cravings that can occur in the off season. And if we can expect them during the prep, we can expect them to be worse after, right? Because we've been restricting for so long. We've been feeling deprived. Even if we're quote unquote flexible dieters and we're including the foods we enjoy and the foods we like into prep food, we're still, the amount of food that we're eating isn't putting us at a level of, this isn't a sport of abundance, guys. Okay. And so expect the food cravings and expect that it's not anything wrong with you, that this is happening. The body wants to protect you. I would also ask what you've put on the back burner during your prep. And do this ahead of time. Don't wait until the off season. Ask, these are all the things I have deliberately and consciously said they're going to wait. They can have some of my attention when this show is over. Review those again, and then, start to make some plans about how you can reincorporate those things into your life. And then I would say, Adam, to prepare and practice ahead of time, positive self-talk. And I know this sounds like it's important. Let me just say that. And not to start when off season arrives, but to recognize how much it affects you when you're talking down to yourself and you're criticizing yourself and you're breaking yourself down and pulling yourself apart. And this happens a lot in bodybuilding, because what are we doing? It's a sport of critique. How can I fix this, make this better, make this bigger, make this smaller? Like,
Right.
it's a sport of change. We're literally ripping our bodies apart most of the time. And it's not creating a super positive mental environment. So to practice asking, like, what's awesome and how can I enhance it about myself, I think is really important. Finally, I would say that go get some new clothes. As silly as this sounds, like, you're gonna have a more ample rockin' body in the off season, and you want it, guys. This is healthy. Now, I struggled with this too as a competitor. I wanted to maintain that level of 5% body fat as long as I possibly could, because it's awesome, right? Except the difference in 5% body fat and 8% body fat, just in terms of how I felt energy-wise, was like, whoa, night and day. I was like, holy crap. And then if you add on a couple more percentage of body fat, I was like, oh, I feel human again. Okay, this is kind of awesome. But then you better go get new clothes. Don't try to change and mold and fit your body into beautiful clothes. Fit clothes to your beautiful new body. Done.
And also understanding the physiology of why those clothes might be bigger is important. So if you're storing more glycogen, you know, you might not be able to zip the back of that dress up because your lats are packed full of glycogen, which is now holding water.
Absolutely.
And, you know, it's not that it's body fat. And I think a lot of
That's a
people
good point.
think that.
I mean, even now, and I don't compete anymore, Adam, just around that time of the month as a female, I can gain up to 5 pounds of water weight. Now, that changes how my clothes fit. I'm not going to go buy new clothes now because I have a period every month. But to your point, yes, to understand, have a level of understanding about the physiology of what's occurring, and not just freak out when you see the number on the scale, or assume that it's body fat, or that you're doing something wrong, or that you're overeating. Like, move out of the assumption making and get really curious. Talk to your coach, ask questions. Why might this be happening? What can I expect? Yes.
I think it's really important to rely on the data versus, you know, completely rely on how you feel. Because I think if you just base it off how you feel, if you're feeling bad, that's just all you're going to know. But if you look at the data, you know, you're like, oh, my weight's been consistent for 3 or 4 weeks. Nothing bad is really happening, but I feel this way. And sometimes the way you feel isn't the absolute truth. Your thoughts and emotions will sometimes lie to you a bit in this process.
Yeah, such a great point. I think we can easily get yanked around by thoughts and yanked around by the stories that we start to believe about the emotions or the thoughts being something that emotions just energy, and thoughts are just strings of words. They're not directives for our behavior. They don't tell us the truth. So to begin, and mindfulness, having a mindfulness practice and just learning to kind of watch our thoughts that are kind of floating across our minds, and learning to just learn to kind of, I think, be with the sensation that the emotion has. So if we're saying we have low energy, like, where do we feel that in our bodies? What does something feel heavy? Does something feel tense? Where is that? Not to judge it, and not to say, well, it's low energy, so I just need to sleep all day long, or not get out of bed, or not see people. Like, that's the story. The sensation is where the energy resides in your body, and just to kind of be able to look at that. That may sound confusing to a lot of people, but it's kind of like creating a little bit of distance between, like, here's the emotion and here's me, and we can have a conversation, but I'm not the emotion.
Mhm.
yanking me
Yeah.
around.
I think recognizing how, that feels is so key. This is why people, they jump to the conclusion they have adrenal fatigue and they
Mm-hmm.
forget the whole root problem of, I only slept 2 hours last night.
Yes.
So, like, let's jump to how about you sleep more and see how I feel
Mm-hmm.
versus, basically diagnose yourself with a disease that doesn't even exist or not on Google.
Yes, let's start slow.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's a really good point. Giving, I think one time you had said, with emotion, does it have a color? What does it feel like? Running through a checklist, so to speak, on how you feel is so important.
Yeah, where is it in my body? If I'm saying that I feel depressed or I feel anxious or I feel um, discouraged, well, how do you know? What's telling you that? Where is it? Is it in your chest? Do you feel it in your stomach? Does it feel tight? Does it feel like weighty? Does it have a color to it? Does it shift or move in any way? Because emotions don't just stay and maintain themselves in one spot in our bodies, Adam. Like, they morph and move and shift and wax and wane, but most of us don't. We don't perceive that because we don't take the time to kind of ask or have some level of curiosity around it. We try to
Mhm.
push them away. If we're feeling discouraged or angry or anxious or whatever, we try to avoid it. Like, get away, you're uncomfortable, I don't want to feel you. And the emotion ends up coming back and pushing harder because it's like, dude, trying to tell you something. Like,
Mhm.
I'm going to do this until you listen to me. So part of it has a lot to do with acknowledging it. Oh, this is here. Okay, this feels like anxiety. Okay, where is it in my body? I kind of feel it in my stomach. Kind of feels heavy. Kind of feels like a pit is there. Okay. And what we find is even if that's uncomfortable, we don't have to like it. But even if it's uncomfortable, just the acknowledgement of it and the naming of it helps it to begin dissipating. It's like,
Mhm.
if we're all in relationships of some sort. If a partner, say it's an intimate relationship, if your partner walks up to you and is like, hey, I really want to talk to you about something, it's important, and you're like, no, I don't want to talk to you, go away, and you walk away, like, what's this partner going to do? Probably going to run after you and be like, wait a second, like, this, I said this is important, or retreat. Either way, like, this is going to fester, the retreating, like, that's going to build some way, and we just create more conflict. So the
Mhm.
answer is to collaborate. Like, even if you say, hey, okay, I hear you, like, this is important to me because it sounds really important to you, now's not a great time, but I do want to hear what you have to say. Could we do it in an hour or two or tomorrow or whatever? We can do that with our emotions too. It's not always practical to be like, oh, I feel really sad right now. And you're in the middle of a board meeting or, client meeting or whatever it is. But to acknowledge it, say it's there, name it, and be like, I got to come back to this. Super, super important.
Yeah, I love that. I think that's super valuable for our audience to know that. And this is probably where, things like emotional eating can stem
Mm-hmm.
from, is just letting things like that fester.
Right.
So
Yeah.
not recognizing them right away.
Mm-hmm.
So this one was great. So thank you so much for your time today.
Thanks,
And
Adam.
um, we'll definitely have you guys tune in for next Contest Prep University.
Thanks, guys.